A first listen of Time by Pink Floyd. Okay, so now onto the actual song reaction. This is a track called Time by Pink Floyd. Now, I had a commenter kind of try and describe to me the context of this song being released, where he said that the 60s had a rivalry between the Stones and the Beatles, whereas the 70s consisted of the rivalry between Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true. That's just kind of his take on things. I just think it's dope that so much great music was released at that time, with one of Pink Floyd's albums being recorded in the same studio as the Beatles were recording the White Album, I believe. Really interesting stuff. In terms of this actual song, this song comes off the album Dark Side of the Moon, which actually has a curious conspiracy theory behind it, where apparently it fits incredibly well alongside the film The Wizard of Oz, which I think is amazing and something that I could possibly explore on this channel. In terms of this actual song reaction, I am expecting this to be a very cerebral track, with it being a prog rock band. Perhaps themes of aging, life after death, perhaps explored in this song. However, those are all just initial expectations. So let's get into the music. Okay, here we go. Interesting start. Okay, I think they're trying to tell a story here. Whoa. Very mysterious atmosphere. Okay, I usually give super initial takes. It seems as if we are like in space almost, or like in the unknown at this moment. It's quite clear to me with the sort of sound effects and stuff that they're using that this is a specific tale that's being told. They're trying to tell a story, almost like as if it was a film, but just in an audio format. Which is really cool. I love that they've taken a chance to do that. I always appreciate when artists do that. Some really cool atmosphere so far. Let's take this back a little bit. Very mysterious. Especially with those little chimes in the background. Yeah. Yes.
The moments that make up a dull day.
Uh-oh.
Fritter and waste the hours that laugh and wait. Hanging around on a piece of ground in your hometown. Waiting for someone or something to show you the way. Tired of lying in sunshine, staying home to watch the fine. 10 years have gone behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. I will take it backwards. Some people might think that's criminal. I just want to get into sort of the themes and the ideas that have been presented so far. Okay, so that first section, that fully musical section, almost tried to represent like the passing of time, almost like a period of time where like there was not any consciousness. Now, the way I'm taking this story to be from the lyrics and the music so far is this is telling the passing of someone's life. So with that first period, what I've taken it as is like that period where before you can remember anything, it almost sounded like there was a heartbeat right at the start of the track, like a quick hit of the bongos, congas maybe, I'm not too sure what they were, but it was like really quick. It's almost presented like it was the of the heartbeat. So perhaps that was the initial period of birth, and then a long period of time where you're unconscious as a child, where you might not remember anything. All of a sudden, they kicked into this brilliant musical section. That first little bit before the harmonies came in was incredible. The guitars came in. Now, what I take that as is everyone has that first memory where you all of a sudden become a conscious, sentient being. Everyone's got that. I remember mine. I was crawling around in the kitchen around my mother. That was like the kick into your childhood. And it seems like this first verse is sort of describing those initial years of your life where you're kicking around a piece of ground in your hometown, waiting for someone or something to show you the way, which is very, very true. As a young person, you're kind of always searching for an example to follow. Really, really cool concept. And then they kicked into something that was much more melancholy, where you are young and life is long and there's time to kill today, sort of representing the boredom of your youth where you're not able to do anything. Some brilliant concepts so far, man. Again, I love the chance that they've taken to try and tell a story through the music. And it really seems like we're about to go into a new phase now. So I'm going to back up and continue with this story.
One day you find 10 years have gone behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun.
Turn it up. Okay, I have so much to say. Okay, let's start with the music. There's so much going on musically. It's very, very hard to sort of describe everything on your first take. The particular thing that I found most interesting is all the different sort of sound effects that they're using. Distortion, just these strange sounds, these chimes. Then they add the harmonies. I think it's quite interesting to see how the Beatles and the Stones, which are the bands that came slightly before these guys, they tend to not use these kind of weird special sound effects. Whereas I've seen this band have taken on technology into their sort of soundscape, and it's really using it to add to the whole atmosphere of their music. Really cool. Secondly, musically, What they tend to do in each musical phrase is have a beginning and two sections, a starting section, a second section. Just with the first verse, you had this initial period, which was one way, and then you had the harmonies kick in, bringing in another vibe, a much more melancholic vibe. So you have like the euphoria and then the melancholy. They did the same thing with the guitar solo. When it kicks in, to me, it almost represented all the possibilities of your youth. Just this sort of kaleidoscope of color just exploding out, sort of like the album cover. And then you had the second phrase, which is a lot more darker, a bit more somber, with the harmonies kicking back in. Again, brilliant. It always keeps things interesting. You keep changing it, and with especially when each section is as powerful as the last, it really does have a great effect. Works very, very well. I'll back this up once again. Brilliant track so far. The little harmonies in the background.
When you run to catch up with the sun when it's sinking, racing around to come up behind you again. The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, shorter of breath, and one day closer to death. Every year is getting shorter, never seem to find the time. Plans that either
Wow.
come to naught or half a page of scribbled lines, hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
True.
The time is gone, the song is over. Thought I'd something more to say.
Brilliant, brilliant verse, man. I really love that they added another backup singer to it. This lady came in. Really cool little for sort of vocal harmony there. Okay, so if we're going into this story, it seems as if this is kind of the tale that they're trying to tell. This is the story of the passing of someone's life. Because he's saying this is the second phase of your life where the sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, shorter of breath, and one day closer to death. Wow, it's pretty deep. And then it goes into a super somber mode where he goes, every year is getting shorter, never seem to find the time. Plans that either come to naught or half a page of scribbled lines. Wow, that's poetic as fuck. Beautiful line. Plans that either come to naught, come to nothing, or half a page of scribbled lines. They don't seem to make sense. Hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way. Wow. That's deep, man. That's deep. Some deep themes in this thing, man. Really, really beautiful song. Take this back.
The time is gone, the song is over. Thought I'd something more to say. Home again. I like to be here when I can. When I come home, cold and tired, it's good to warm my bones beside the fire. Far away across the field, the tolling of the iron bell calls the faithful to their knees. You hear the softly spoken magic spell.
Wow. Okay. There is so much to cover there. Firstly, what a brilliant track. Conceptually executed with surgical precision. Such a well done song. This kept with this story of telling this tale of someone's life. Now, just musically, if we were to talk about the little parts of the song that I really loved, again, there's such a wide variety of different musical sections that I love. my favorite parts are when you go from this kind of mystical, mysterious phase and you kick into something crazy where the guitar comes in heavy, brilliant drumming, the drummings come in thudding. Love all those sections. Oh, and I almost didn't add this in the actual reaction. This is a slightly after the video's been done. Those were some of the best guitar solos I've ever heard. Maybe my mind was just blown into little fragments after hearing them, but incredible. I think that the guy who's playing the guitar is David Gilmour. Props to him, man. What a brilliant guitar solo. If we're talking about the final part of this song, where to me when he says home again, I like to be here when I can, I took that as he has actually died now and he's returned home meaning back to life, wherever you go, life after death, which I think is really cool because he ends it with the tolling of the iron bell calls the faithful to their knees. So he's talking about having faith in his life, which has led him to sort of exist after death, to hear the softly spoken magic spells. So there's a lot of almost religious imagery used in that last section too. Wow, what a brilliant track. And the fact that these guys have tried to deliver a song that's sort of as intellectually stimulating on an album. I believe this album was like the second or third highest selling album of all time. To try and deliver something that challenges your audience, you've got to really commend, because a lot of music nowadays, the stuff that sells the most tends to be the stuff that's kind of middle of the line, in order not to just kind of offend anyone and be like as appealing as you can to as many people. No knock on today's music. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it was all better before, but it would be cool if we got to a place where we could return to making stuff that was challenging yet great, brilliant, shows musicianship, shows depth, and it also sell really well. Man, overall, love this song, brilliant track, man.